Hey, Suzanne Caldeira here with Guaranteed Rate. I'm with Roy Avellaneda from White Cart Realtors. And Roy has some exciting news. He has a new condo development that is in the works. There's actually some that are pre-sold. And some of the attributes that I find really exciting are that there's an affordability component with some of the units. So, Roy, why don't you maybe share with the viewers a little bit about the Reginald and how you got involved with the project?
Sure. Well, I'm a lifelong resident in the city of Chelsea, and I knew the owner of this particular location. His name was Reginald DeFlori, and he was the service station that my father and I would go to, over the years. And when he retired, I knew that I looked at it and said, this would be, I think, a great opportunity for a conversion to residential, because it was primarily in a very heavy residential area in Chelsea, next to abutting Chelsea Square, which is quite frankly one of my favorite squares in Chelsea. All the restaurants and coffee shops and a theater. The city does a lot of summer program in there with live plays and live music. So it's I would say it's a happening place of the city of Chelsea, and historic in it itself. It is a historic square. I brought the potential of the project to a local developer who has done other condo developments in the city of Chelsea, Mike Venue from Broadway Capital, and we were able to negotiate the purchase and then go through the permitting process to the city of Chelsea to get these 20 units. And Chelsea does have that in zoning inclusionary law ordinance on the books, which is 15%. But Mike went a little bit above that. It would have been just 3 units. We went to 4. So we have 4 units that are deeded affordable, meaning that anyone making less than or up to 80% of the average median income in the Suffolk County, which I have, rattle off the numbers, but basically it's $70,000 for a household of 1, $80,000 for a household of 2, $92,000 for 3, and then up to $100 for a family of 4 or a household of 4. And the 4 units that we have there are one bedroom, and that's priced at $208,000, and the 3 2-bedrooms that are priced at $248,000. You can imagine with that price point, you can't find anything in the greater Boston area at that price point. Less is a fixer-upper. The great thing about this is brand new luxury style finish condominiums that you're getting at that very low rate. Obviously, the market rate units, the other 16 are subsidizing, that cost, because there is a loss on these units, but the profit from the other ones are what allowed for this to happen. And there's a great project. I had a lot of fun planning the design with the team. Too often, the developers and the architects don't bring the salesperson or the real estate broker in early, and sometimes you have layouts that just don't make sense or aren't what buyers want. And we made sure that these are spacious. They're on average the 2 bedrooms of 1,052 square feet all the way up to 1,300. So they're very large 2 bedrooms. And the master bedrooms, they're all 2-bed, 2-bath, the 2 bedrooms, and they have nice walk-in closets. So I know that one of the biggest things that buyers want is enough closet space. And that's the problem with that sometimes you get with when you buy the older, cheap brickstone type of condo, and older, they don't have that spacing in today's amenities. But this is a nice open floor plan style. And the units do come with off-street parking, 2 parking spots with each unit. Again, sometimes you see maybe 1 or you have street parking, but that's not the case here. And so we're excited, particularly because we opened up already the application process period for the affordables. That started on March 1 and then concludes at the end of April. So we did 2 months working with the city to get those reservations in. We've got 20 so far. We expect somewhere in the vicinity of 40 to 60 applications for these units. And hopefully someone well-deserving and local will get that opportunity to own rather than keep on renting.
Roy, thanks so much for going through that and explaining the progression of, how it turned into a condo. I have a question for myself and even for the viewers that are watching. With the applications that are in, can you explain that process? Like, how does that person or those people get chosen as one of the winners of said unit?
Great question. And the application process is not easy, I'm going to tell you, because it's actually very similar to a loan application process. Typically, the salesperson, we don't deal with any of the financials. We just say, give us a pre-approval letter from a lender, and we know that they've been verified. In this situation, we have to verify that the person or the household don't overcome or over exceed the income guidelines. So they actually have to, as part of the process, fill the form out. The application is simply the name and the income, but then we're going to be asking for 2 months of pay stubs, the 2 months of bank statements. We're requesting the last 2 years of their filed taxes. And this is obviously to make sure, and we need a pre-approval letter because we want to make sure that they actually have the credit to go get a loan. And then we have to verify all that information. At the very beginning, we simply ask for a application form and a pre-approval letter. We don't want to have all that financial information for all of the applicants at this point. So we just ask, fill out the application, which is on our website. You can download it or contact me and I can send it to you with a pre-approval letter. And then we'll put all the names in basically a barrel, or we'll do it electronically. And we then just go through the lottery, and when we just work down the list, whoever gets picked first says you have the first opportunity to A, select a unit, and B, verify that you qualify for the, through your income. It's important to note that we are limiting the 2-bedroom units to households that are 2 and greater. If you happen to be chosen number 1 and you're a 1-person household, you don't get, even if you can afford it and so forth, you don't get to choose the 2-bedroom because we are reserving those. So that individual who's a single person will go for the 1-bedroom, and then we save the 2 bedrooms for larger households and so forth. But we'll go through the whole process, and as we work down the list, we vet everybody. We encourage everyone to seek down payment assistance. There are a number of down payment assistance programs available for first-time home buyers. The city requires that many take the first-time home buyers course as part of the process, but you can talk a little bit about what's available for down payment assistance, because there are programs. The city itself has one for Chelsea residents that allows for $10,000 down payment assistance, but I think there are programs that actually are higher than the down payment assistance provided by the city. They do accept gifts. If a parent or a family member wants to provide down payment assistance, that is also allowable, because we've had those too.
Yeah, I thought I'd share. I know you and I were talking before I hit record from a lending standpoint. We're a direct lender for Mass Housing, and by the time this video gets out there, Mass Housing will have unveiled their new Workforce Advantage program. Now, Chelsea is what's known as a gateway city. So for people that meet the income criteria, and it goes by household size. So if you have a 4-person household and only 2 people are working, you're going to look at a 4-person household for income. I need my readers for that, but you know what? We'll put the information on what that is and the links to find that out. But with the unveiling of this program, it's what's known as a deferred down payment. So meaning there's 0 interest, there's no payments that are due on it, and 3 ways it needs to get paid off. Either if the person sells, refinances, or if they get to year 30 and they haven't done anything. And what it is, and the exciting thing for anyone that's seeing this, Roy, is that it's 10% down or 50,000, whichever is less. So, Mass Housing's going all in on home ownership. I'll share this with you. I was at a chamber event for Bristol County and this southeastern part of Massachusetts. and there was a gentleman that's involved in Massachusetts politics. Terrible. I just don't recall what his name was, but he works closely with the governor's administration. And one of the biggest issues is homes. It's housing, home insecurity, the cost. And to know that you have a developer that said, hey, you know what, we're going to shift some of these profits and put this into affordable housing. It just says something about the developer, and that the developer was willing to do that. I know some developers don't want to go through all of that. And maybe you can speak more to it, because I know you work with a lot of builders and know a lot of people that are vested in the community. Why do you find that some builders either don't want to do it or don't like to? Is it more education, or is it more perception?
Not so much in communities like Chelsea where the price points are lower, but I think that in some points in Boston, the ability where there's an option, which is a buyout option, and developers can say, we can either have the unit in the building, or we can contribute to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund that is set up by the city, and that they can use that money to go build affordable housing in other parts of Boston. If you are building the Millennium, and you know that your units are going to be selling in the millions of dollars out there, and your cost to build a unit is significantly high, because it's the materials and the labor and such, and just because it's Boston, it might make sense for you to say, I'd rather sell the $1 million+ condo and pay whatever that money is into the fund, then build it and sell it at the affordable rate, which in Boston again would be $300,000. So there's your difference. It could be a difference of millions of dollars in sales. And so it's always about the numbers. Number one, for developers, it's like, what makes more sense for me? If it's financially wise for me to include those affordable units in my building after I look at my charts, then yes, I will include them. If it makes more sense to pay and not include it, and receive a little bit of the blowback, there's a little bit of blowback about saying, well, you're not being inclusion, I'm being fair, but that's typically the number one reason. Some people like to state that, they're being very exclusive. They don't want to have this perception of low income or so forth in the building. But what a lot of people don't realize, that's not a real argument, because the people who are going into and are buying, and this is not renting, the ones who are buying into these units, they have a job. They have an income. They're not poor by any means. They actually are middle class. I don't think that it's a perception that the people didn't want that. And quite frankly, I've seen some of these condo fees in those buildings that are, $1 million pluses. And it would be very financially unstable for maybe a middle class person to not only, even with buying an affordable unit, but pay that monthly condo fee in those developments. So, but that's what happens sometimes. And you talked about the conversation that you overheard. I'm hearing the same things. Many people who may be watching here don't realize that I'm also a city councilor in Chelsea, and I'm very much active in my community, and particularly on the housing front, and have been pushing for many years now homeownership versus the creation. They say, we need to create more housing, but many times that housing is just rental buildings, and primarily that's what we've seen is rentals. And my advocacy, particularly in Chelsea, where we want to increase home ownership and build a community and create wealth within our gateway communities, they're seeing that the argument, both at the federal level, with HUD and Biden making administration, the HUD has announced that they're going to focus more and more of their resources on home ownership. And also the state, the governor said the same, Governor Baker. That's why his administration, probably the gentleman from the Housing and Economic Development Agency, is saying that because it comes from top, and then his soldiers will stipulate. And the other day I heard, and it was a breakfast with a candidate who's running for governor now, saying the same thing. We're going to push for, as part of, if elected governor, that individual, I don't want to say the name, but that individual is going to focus on home ownership side more than just continue this whole rental thing, because we need that pendulum. And particularly in communities like Somerville, like Chelsea and East Boston, where we're seeing these pushes of gentrification and such, they are very high on the rental versus home ownership ratio. And that, and home ownership is a buffer against being pushed out of the neighborhood that you grew up in and lived in and so forth. So you don't see it so much in the suburbs because, again, the housing stock is different. But that's what we're seeing, and I'm seeing it across. And that's why I think mass housing agencies are now having that much more. And when you tell me that there's possibly, $50,000 worth of down payment assistance for this condo, let's say you purchased the condo at $248,000. Your mortgage is down into the 180s. My God, you're talking about a mortgage, on top of the head, maybe $900 a month. I mean, you can't rent for $900 a month. So right away, whoever gets that down payment assistance from mass housing is going to be able to start saving money and also not throw their money away on rent and start to build that value in equity against their home for when they finally do sell.
Yeah, true. And the other benefits, you were talking about the cost difference, and you're absolutely right when you're dealing with a business person, with an entity, you have to make a profit, and there's nothing against that. But where it affects people sometimes is the ones that need to be in a $200,000 or $300,000 price point, and they want housing, and to be able to be close to the city. Maybe they work in Boston, or maybe they work right on the outskirts, and now you're able to own your own home. So I think this is an exciting venture, and even to get a condo for the $500,000 price point, currently, I have two pre-approved clients that are looking in Boston, and they're getting frustrated that they need to push their price point above 600 for what they're looking for. So that's
and again, I think we're great. Chelsea continues to be the more affordable market. I'm excited about back to the market rate units of the Reginald. And by the way, I called it the Reginald because it was after the previous owner. Reggie was, his nickname, but formerly Reginald. That's why I called it that way, just to pay homage to the history of the community. The units that we have, the market rate units at the 559 range to the 670s, those individuals who may have been negatively impacted by any recent mortgage rate increase should be looking to Chelsea, because the quality is here. It matches what they would have seen. And I think that what drives them to those communities about having those nearby conveniences and lifestyles or offerings, quick access to Boston, check that off the list for Chelsea, restaurants and coffee shops, check that off. So if they're looking, that this is definitely something that should be in their radar.
And you were talking about the downtown area, and especially with how entrenched you are in the city and your involvement with the city. What else appeals to you about it, about being in Chelsea, that you think buyers should know about?
Well, I mean, again, it's nice to. I enjoy the diversity. I enjoy the wide spectrum of different cultures here. And it translates into all the great different restaurants, all the little mom and pops. That's what it goes into. And I like the fact that, Chelsea, I was just talking to a former colleague of mine who served on the council, that being small, because we're not part of Boston, which you can get lost in, but being in a small community like Chelsea, a lot of people just know each other. We're all going to Market Basket. We're all going to see each other, and we see each other, through our regular day. So you can really be the type of neighborhood someone would like to enjoy if they want to get to meet the neighbors and not live anonymously, so to speak. So there's that part of it, the social aspect of it. So conveniently, whenever I need to go and travel anywhere, being right next to Boston with all those highways without the cost of Boston, I can jump on Route 1, New Hampshire and Maine that way. 93 is right over the Tobin Bridge also. If I want to go see a concert or a game at the TD Garden, I'm literally 10 minutes away. And so is all the great restaurants in the North End and such. So more than anything else, it's being right next to the hub without paying the premium price.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to end it, Roy. I really do. Thank you so, so much for
you're welcome.
giving of
Thank
your
you.
time and marketing such a great property, as well as your passion for the city. It shows, and your info will be on here and will be on the video. And again, thanks so much.
Thank you.